So, seems to me Buddhism 101 is making things conscious. Seems to me that's the first step, because if you don't make things conscious, you may think you're practicing, but you're maybe coming from some agenda or some attitude which you're not aware of. So you're not really awake. So let's say, we have an appointment, you and I, and we're going to meet somewhere, and then you don't show up. And then I feel disappointed. And then I think thoughts of disappointment. Why did you do that? Da, 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 da. And then I see you next time. And I don't see you, I see my disappointment. That's my sanya now, right? My history with you is disappointment. And I start talking with you from that sanya. So you are no longer Boris, but you are this disappointment which I've experienced. Now, if I'm not aware of that disappointment, and I just talk to you, maybe aggressively or unkindly, I'm not really aware where I'm coming from. But if next time I have to meet you, and I kind of see Boris in my mind as a perception, and I just feel, oh, there's memory. Boris as perception, feel, oh, this is disappointment, feels like this. Then I'm aware. Because then if I come at you from some kind of angle of disappointment, I'm realizing, oh, wait, you're just coming at this person from that history. So I'm aware, and then I can make mistakes, but I know why I'm making mistakes. Say in meditation, let's say you have a 45-minute meditation. And after 30 minutes, you start, maybe the meditation isn't going so well, you have a little bit of pain, the mind isn't settling on anything, you're a bit bored, you start to look at the watch. So that's anticipation. You're anticipating the next 15 minutes. You want this thing to finish, you want to leave. And then you apply your attention to an object of meditation. But you're not really awake, oh, that anticipation feels this way. So then you're trying to get rid of the anticipation. And then you really try to focus on your breath, but you're not aware that actually the way where you're coming from is vibhava tanha. You want to get rid of something. So awakening to the way things are, it's actually quite profound. It's not that simple. So when we say penyang ni eng, what we're trying to get to the place where it's the pure experience of the situation. And I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's perhaps what the Burmese sayadaws are pointing to when they talk about labeling. Because when Burmese sayadaws say just label it as annoyance or label it as a disappointment, then what would that imply? That implies that you get behind the storyline. So the storyline, like, if I feel disappointed, is anyone here called Boris, by the way? I tried to find a name that wouldn't, anyone on the internet and Boris? Sorry. Anyway, so where was I? So if I'm not really awake to that, to whatever the perception is, then I'm not really mindful. But if I can just label it, then I can see there is this history with Boris, and the history is disappointment. But then the history doesn't go into papancha, into self-view, into the storyline, into attachment. And that's what attachment is. Attachment is the constant thinking about. Let's say on this retreat, you feel grief. You remember someone who you loved, someone who's died. And grief comes into the mind. Buddhism 101 is grief feels this way. Now, you don't need to do anything about it actually. It just grief is this way, it feels this way. And if you're taking refuge in awareness, and this is what Bhutang Saranang Gacchami means, is refuge in awareness. If you're taking refuge in awareness and trusting in awareness and knowing that grief is a historical thing and it's painful and so on, and you have the wisdom just to witness grief as it is, then grief ceases into the silence of the mind. If you have grief and maybe you did something inappropriate to that person and you have a bad memory of their passing, you have a regretful memory of their passing, then the grief will be compounded by your own actions and the sense of, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And that will be a kind of uncomfortable place to be. But in the same way, if you say, oh, this is what regret feels like. And if you trust in awareness, regret is not permanent. It arises because of historical circumstances, it stays for a while, and then it ceases. If you trust in awareness. If you don't trust in awareness, you either get caught in the thinking, which is usually, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and I shouldn't have been there, and which is all attachment, upadana, papancha, and so on and so forth. So trusting in awareness and awakening to the way things are is very, very profound and actually not so easy. It's not so very, very easy. And that's what I've been encouraging yesterday, to learn to do that. Now, this isn't an analysis or a judgment or trying to fix something or anything. It's just the awakened mind. Then if you have that, if you understand that and you begin to remember what the awakened mind is, and you practice, this is what I mean by practice, then that gives you some understanding of what right effort is. So right effort is the sustaining of the awakened mind, not the sustaining of nice states of mind. You can do that, you can try to do that, you can do metta bhavana, you can uplift the mind and so on and make it inspired, but the bottom line to me seems to understand what the awakened mind is, what it feels like, or it's like this, to any condition, be it beautiful or ugly, to any condition. So then that's why the ideas of the awakened mind is that it includes everything. It rejects nothing. It allows everything, it rejects nothing. Sila rejects violence. Morality rejects cruelty. Dana encourages generosity, but awareness rejects nothing, refuses nothing, lets all things arise and cease. Then you can be with the ugly states of mind, if we call them ugly, difficult states of mind. It's okay, because your refuge is not a state of mind, it's the background of knowing. So background, foreground. Makes sense? I know, that's the theory. All right. So what happens with papancha? Where does papancha manifest? Kit mak, right? Kit. It's thinking. So where does thinking manifest? It doesn't manifest in your elbow. Shall I? Or does it? Anyone? You do elbow papancha? It manifests in your brain, right? When you're worried, what do you feel? You feel tension and pressure in your brain and in your eyes. And if you're aware of your brain as an object, it's like a sponge which is constantly squeezing, not relaxed. So if you're trying to sort out stuff always from the, let's take the critical faculty. Think about the critical faculty. Necessary. If you don't have the critical faculty, you're going to be in trouble. So if you have an employee and the employee comes late every day and doesn't fulfill their duties, then you say, hey, I'm paying you. You have duties, you have responsibilities. If you can't do that, you have to leave. Critical faculty. I call that functional critical faculty. But critical faculty, which is more like a mood or a habit of mind, is different. So let's say I feel critical about someone in my life, in my social situations. And each time I see them, whatever they're doing, my mind brings up, they're pathetic, or they don't know what they're doing. Okay, that's an aramana. That's a type of mindset, correct? Just as generosity is a type of mindset and compassion is a type of mindset, right? But it's can be very deluding the critical faculty because it seems like I'm right. Of course, that person's an idiot. I mean, everyone knows that. And so it's not seen as an aramana, it's seen as a reality. But it's a reality created by the critical function. So to step back from that and say, oh, this is the critical function, it's like this, is more difficult than anger. Like anger is quite easy to look at because you get a really strong bodily feeling. Whereas like critical faculty, doubt, they're more difficult because they're all mostly in the head. You don't feel them so much in the body, you can. So I would suggest, and maybe we'll do some meditation around this, but beginning to look at the tension in the head as the object of awareness. Because if I'm critical of you and I'm trying to get rid of the criticism, I'll be thinking, I shouldn't be so critical. He's actually quite a nice person. No, he's not. He's terrible. And I'll just be thinking, and that's pressure in the head. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Then I'll try to get rid of it and be a nice person. Then I'll see you, I'll call you a turkey, and it'll just go on and on and on. There's no liberation in the brain. The brain is it's a war zone. It just goes on and on and on. The brain is useful for functional critical thinking. Yes, if you didn't have that, then yeah, not good. But as a place to sort these things out, the place to resolve these things is in the heart. So I suggest that a way of dealing with like doubt, look at doubt, how it just, I don't know, maybe, yes, am I doing this right? It's all in thought. It's all in thought. And then you try to figure it out in thought, and you're just in a kind of like a mouse in a treadmill running around, or a hamster. Hamster's better. So what other way could you do that? Well, first of all, you have to awaken, I should think, that, wow, there's a lot of thinking going on. There's a lot of thinking. And then if you do that, then you say, what's the thinking driven by? Resentment, disappointment, criticism. You begin to see the aramana. And I never get the pronunciation right. You guys can help me. Sop arom? Is that right? Sop arom. So Luangpor Chah would talk about that a lot. Check out the mood. Would that be a good enough translation? Check the mood of the mind. And you can see if I'm not aware of the mood of the mind and I'm just now driven by that mood, then I'm not really aware. I kind of know I'm there. So that's Buddhism 101. So then like the critical faculty or like self-criticism, a lot of us we suffer a lot from self-judgments and idealism, attachment to idealism and how we should be and how, et cetera, et cetera. Monks, quite often we really suffer from that because we have these, we have like Luangpor Chah, we have the Buddha, we have Venerable Sariputta, we have a Venerable Moggallana, and then it's me. With my grumpy mind and my acne and all the rest of it. And so, I could attach to that ideal and think, oh, you pathetic Viradhammo, what are you doing? And that's idealism. But that will always be running in thought. Self-judgment is an aramana. It's an arom. It's a type of mindset. So when I can get behind the storyline to the aramana, I'm much more into wisdom than into attachment and sense of self. And that's what we're trying to do. When we contemplate stream of consciousness, which we can do here, we're not worried about the persona anymore. We're not worried about being a perfect person and all of the rest of it. We're more concerned about what are the underlying moods that create the sense of a person. So if I have a strong, say, if I have a strong habit of self-criticism and self-hatred and self-disparagement, right? And then I walk in to offer the bhikkhus a meal, and then I drop the pizza on the floor. Disaster. Absolute disaster. No one really cares. Everyone says you're okay. Then I go and meditate. What happens? I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. Why did I do that? That's an aramana. That's a mood. But it can seem very real. And that's thought. And that's thought, right? And that's the foreground. That's the suffering. So what to do? Well, I'm okay, actually. It was okay. No, it wasn't. That's still thought. You never get out of it. But you say, what does thought feel like? What does this mood feel like? And it feels like pressure. So in this meditation, what I'll suggest is go using, like in body awareness, quite often we think we're working from the eyes and the head. We don't make the head an object in awareness because we're so visually centered and kind of head centered. It's like me looking at that book. Yeah, okay. But also in body awareness, you can see the head in awareness, the eyes in awareness. And when you do that, you notice there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of tension around the eyes and so on. And actually then using that awareness of that area and then bringing the attention through the throat and down into the heart chakra is a way to resolve thought. It's difficult because we usually don't abide here, we abide there. And our critical faculty is very, very developed. Like if you are an IT yogi or you do accounts or whatever, we use intellect a lot. You feel this very much when you see a happy child. Maybe you see a baby and there's a gurgling in a beautiful gurgling way that babies do. Your heart opens. You really, really feel that. And to learn how to come to that area, and I think live from here rather than from here is a worthwhile effort. So from the heart rather than the head. Then the head, because if the critical faculty is not balanced by the Brahma Viharas, it's a lot of suffering. The Brahma Viharas balance the critical faculty. If you don't have a critical faculty, the Brahma Viharas can become very naive and simplistic, I think. So I thought we could try that. So these are two models I like to work in my own practice: foreground, background, heart, head. So then I'm always redefining Samma Samadhi for myself, not for you, of course. But what my latest is the silent stillness of the heart. Ooh, I like that. Because it seems to me it incorporates the Brahma Viharas, but also it's the stillness of knowing, both of those. So let's stretch your legs a bit, and I'll try to lead a meditation on those themes, see where we go. Okay. So we'll sit for 45 minutes again, and I'll give a bit of guided meditation, and then I'll just stop and go up to the chair. By the way, this is the best chair I've ever meditated on. It's my Kalyana Mitta. It's like, huh? No. It's the perfect size. All right, let's go. Listen to sound. So Buddhism 101, it's like this. And then sound is an excellent way to cultivate this more receptive attitude, to make awareness a receptive, opening kind of attitude. So allow the sounds to come to you. Again, notice the mind, which isn't looking for any particular sound. So you're not searching for something. And it's not rejecting any sound. It's welcoming all sounds, letting go of all sounds. And then notice the stillness of awareness. Stillness of being. Exercising those reflections on awareness itself is helpful. So listen to sound and perceive sound as in awareness. This gives a sense of space. So again, I hear someone cough. I hear the air conditioner. They seem to be out there. I am here. It's not wrong. But another way is that this whole experience of sound body is in awareness. Awareness, does it have an outer edge? Does it have a boundary? On the other hand, does it have a center, a fixed point? So awareness is like this. Now is a knowing. Bring attention to your head. Localize your attention on the mouth. Feel this, allow the sensations in the mouth to become conscious. So you're localizing your attention, you're not doing a hard concentration. You're just sort of settling there and allowing whatever tactile sensations there are come into consciousness. So feel your lips, let that be conscious. The teeth, tongue, upper palate, and lower palate. The whole area of the mouth then, alive with sensations. Now we're not conceptualizing, this isn't a thought, it's the direct experience of the tactile sensations of the mouth. And the stillness of awareness. So it's awareness with bodily sensation. The stillness of awareness with bodily sensation. So again, the emphasis isn't on the quality of the sensations in your mouth. The emphasis is on the quality of attention, awareness itself. Feel your ears. So some parts of the body will be more, have more sensations, some less. That doesn't really matter. Feel the outer structures of your ears. Let them come into consciousness. Inside the ear canal. And the stillness of knowing. Feel the nose, the bridge of the nose. Let that become feeling, let it be feeling, come into consciousness. Feel the nostrils, the air going in and outside, in and out the nostrils. Now, if you're concentrating really hard, your eyes will start to have a lot of stress in them. You'll be squeezing your eyes to notice the nose. That's not what we're doing. We're just allowing with an open mind, open attention for these localized sensations to appear. If nothing appears, fine. It's the attitude which we're cultivating, open awareness, welcoming awareness. Now feel your eyes. Feel the orbits, the bony structures around the eyes. Now imagine that you're wearing very, very, very large sunglasses. And the orbits or the bony structures expand outwards to the rims of the glasses. So you can feel them expanding outwards. And then the eyes themselves, just imagine that the eyes are very relaxed and can almost fall out of your head. And the stillness of knowing. The eyes are in awareness, as opposed to you living behind your eyes. The eyes are in awareness. So follow the eyes back along to the temples, the nerves, the feelings of the temples. The optic nerve inside going back. So feel any pressure there, let that become conscious. So we're not forcing anything, but we are awake to how that feels. Now include the top of your head with the sides of the head with the temples. Let that be conscious. Feel the back of your head. Now feel your whole head as sensation, feeling, vibration. temperature, heat, cool, as an object in awareness. So rather than you being in your head looking at the world, this is an object in awareness. And that's the foreground. The stillness of knowing is the background. Now come to your throat. Feel the throat. Feel below the chin, into the throat. Let that become conscious. Feel the sides of the neck. Feel the back of the neck. Feel the whole neck now. Go inside your throat. Feel your throat open. Go down through the throat, down into the chest. Come to the center of the chest. Allow that to be conscious. Now, as you do that, are you squeezing your eyes? Are you squeezing your hands? No need to do that. It's just open awareness. So feel the rising and falling of the chest with the breath. So for this meditation, try to just stay with that movement at the chest of the breath with this open, silent awareness. And when you start thinking or making effort, keep awareness in the background of what's going on with the eyes and the temples and the brain. And then if you get caught up in thinking, then start again at the eyes, temples. Allow that to be conscious. Come down through the throat, down to the chest, and settle your attention from thinking down to the chest. And then just be the silent witness of an in-breath, an out-breath. So you're training with the breath, but also training to stay at the heart center. All right, I'll leave that as meditation, and we'll sit for the rest of the time in silence. wash, washing, walking meditation. Uh, walking meditation, one very interesting way to do it is just to make it a simple exercise in awakening rather than, again, in controlling. So if you understand what the awakened mind is, and you come to that, like you set up your walking path 20, 30 paces, and your one end, and then just awaken to the way things are. Simple enough. If there's a lot of thinking going on, awaken to that, label it like you do, well, this is worry or whatever. And then when you're walking, just see when the mind loses that awakened quality. So you start fantasizing and worrying or whatever, and then stop. When you notice it, stop, and don't try to get rid of that, but just return to awakening. So it's a very kind of positive thing rather than a sense of failure. Oh, I can't do this and so on. So each iteration of the awakened mind that you can encourage and trust in and practice, that becomes a strength, obviously. And that you just have to trust that process. And the nature of thinking mind, it's like very boring and constant in all the rest of it. So if you only relate to that part where the mind keeps babbling on, then you can feel quite negative about it. But if you relate more to the silence, to the awakened mind, to that's my real home. Oh, good, I'm home again. That kind of attitude, and just keep encouraging that in the walking, then that's going to give it a good result. Even if the walking meditation is a lot of thought, it's okay. You're just working with what you've got. And then, of course, the ends of the path will interrupt the walking, so they'll interrupt the thinking if you allow it to be noticed. So you get to the end and just stop and awaken. It's like this. So there isn't a sense of becoming in this. We're not looking for some special insight or anything like that. Turn around again, awaken. It's like this. So it's a very boring kind of thing to do. It's not like whatever. It's not like weaving or making furniture. So it doesn't have the pull of desire in it. When you have the pull of the pleasant, like watching a pleasant movie is not very difficult, right? But watching the movie of your mind is really boring. And so to constantly just do this practice is an awakening without the pull of fascination, without the pull of interest, actually. And it's very easy to focus on something that you're interested in. If you're interested in making a salad, it's easy to concentrate on the salad. Or if you're doing woodwork or making a pot or whatever, it's quite, because it draws your attention. You like that, you like doing that. Here, we're not using pleasure or interest as our main factor. We're using probably just investigation. I mean, you have to be interested in your mind, sure, but you're just doing it because it's an exercise, which, I mean, it should be interesting, but it's an exercise which you kind of, what is it? It's like a trusting, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, that's my real home. I want to investigate. Where's my real home? And then the mind does something else. And of course, this is the way we, like forest monasticism practices, sitting, walking, sitting, walking, walking, sitting, sitting, walking. And you can see if the attitude is one of remembering the awakened mind rather than getting some experience, you'll be okay. The awakened mind will become stronger and stronger. If, however, your attitude is to gain some kind of experience, then you'll feel very frustrated, very frustrated. So you, like quite often in interviews, like there'll be 5 people, one person will have seen the devas, another person will have had lights, and the third person will feel pathetic. I haven't seen devas, I haven't seen lights, there's nothing happening. They'll go back to their walking path I want to see some lights. I want to see some devas. Avijja Pachya Sankara. So it's a very humble kind of thing. But if you trust in awareness, then it begins to be the underlying identity, I would say. You begin to identify with awareness itself rather than your thinking mind. Because when we begin practice, we identify with the narratives and storylines of our suffering, our anger and fear and self-disparagement. We really think we are that, but you're not your thoughts. They are simply conditions. And as you awaken and you say, this is my real home, it's like this, that becomes more and more dominant in a kind of subversive way, in a very good way. If you want to try the lying meditation, please do so. That's another way to alternate sitting, walking, lying. Standing, you can, if you are adept at that. But the idea again is to just keep going till the bell goes, and keep that attitude of the awakened mind. All right. So let's go and do that.